Hello everyone and welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. Now normally this is the show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we usually talk about it. But today we're going to talk about one thing and one thing alone, that is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Here to join me for a long and what I'm sure will be in-depth discussion, Miss Lisa Lock-McGahee. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
You ready to talk some Star Wars?
I'm always ready to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, that's why I married you, of course. So, Lisa and I have both seen the film twice now. We saw it opening night, and then we've seen it once more since then. We're actually going tomorrow a third time as well, downtown in the IMAX 3D screen to go see it, which I'm kind of excited for.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool. And I've actually had heard some people post that the 3D is actually worth it. Because, normally we both avoid 3D at all costs. I typically am not a big fan of 3D, but I have heard that this one does it very well. So I hope that that's true. Yeah,
definitely. That'll be cool. So just as a little warning, guys, I am fighting a bit of a cold, so I'm feeling a little more nasally than usual, so probably sounding a little bit of weird. But we'll get through it. We will definitely purge on here, because this is something I've been wanting to do. I wanted to do this last week, but schedules didn't match up with either Josh or Lisa. So we're finally getting a chance to do this now. I'm sure by now, if you have any interest in Star Wars at all, you've seen all the many reviews that are out. I'm hoping maybe we can give you a little bit of extra insight that maybe someone hasn't thought of yet, or maybe a really cool theory that'll drive you crazy for the next year and a half till episode 8 comes out as well. So starting off, I'm just going to ask Lisa, general thoughts on the movie. Of course, did you like it? Did you love it? What things stood out for you?
Overall, I really liked it. I definitely liked it better than the prequels. But you know how,
That's a low bar to jump over.
Yes, exactly. The prequels did not... it was not going to be hard, I don't think, for this to be better than the prequels. I don't know, compared to the original trilogy, I feel like it's really hard to compare it to the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Just because of the way technology is different now. The things that it's like some people that I work with, that I've talked to over the last couple weeks, because everybody at work who has seen it has come to me asking me questions about it.
Don't you love it when they do that?
I know. And especially since I have R2-D2 as my text sound. So anytime people hear that at work, they're all like, oh, you like Star Wars? And so then, of course, it starts a conversation. But a handful of people at work have never seen Star Wars. And they've talked about how they tried to go back and watch, starting with episode 4, and they just couldn't get into it. And I think that I totally understand that, because if you try to look at the original trilogy in this day and age, the way that movies are made these days, and with the technology and the graphics and the ability we have with movies, I think that the original trilogy do look incredibly outdated. And I can see, if you've never seen Star Wars, starting right there would be hard.
Yeah, I can see, especially, your cousin Holly said she enjoys the prequels a little bit more than the original trilogy because it looks newer. It's got newer graphics. It looks, like today's day and age. I get that. For me, it's about the story. I always look at it, even when I was watching The Force Awakens, I was concentrating on the story. And the story in that first trilogy is just perfection. I mean, it's for me especially, it's such a high bar to reach. Force Awakens did not do as well. I don't think it's better than the original trilogy. Definitely better than the prequels. But it's such a high quality of filmmaking, I think, to reach. So.
Well, it's hard to compare it, though, because we just have the one.
Exactly.
I think if you compare this one to just A New Hope, in terms of story and...
Well, it was pretty much a new rendition of New Hope anyway,
so I'm saying,
which we'll get into.
Talking about, if you're comparing it to the entire original trilogy, then that's a little bit different. Because I felt like the story in that one, if you just had the story of A New Hope, it was a bit of a story.
You can compare, story-wise, you can compare to it, yes.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's hard to compare. I like this one because I think it's a good meld of the storytelling that we saw in the original trilogy, mixed with a good amount of special effects and the new technology.
Yeah, the new stuff.
But it still had enough of the
practical effects
that it, and they talked about, JJ said that, that it was going to be a mix. And I think they did a really great job with that, because the prequels, one of the things aside from the issues I have with the story, which you know how I feel about that, but the prequel, what I didn't like about it was just how over the top some of the graphics were.
Yeah.
Like, I hated all those lightsaber duels in the first two movies. The prequels, because it was so, like, ridiculous. It was just, you know, this crotchety old thing who can't even walk, and all of a sudden they're doing flips and stuff. Like, I thought in this one the lightsaber battles were better in The Force Awakens, because, number one, it was people that were fairly untrained.
Yeah.
But they were real. Like, it looked like it was what I would imagine if somebody picked up a lightsaber
and just tried hacking
and was
away,
just trying to use it, how they would look. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like, I like that about it. It wasn't. I didn't think any of the effects were super unrealistic. Where in the prequels, I felt like it was very unrealistic.
Yeah, with the prequels too. You know, it's one of the things, they were mainly acting against green screens, which doesn't help. With this one, of course, JJ emphasized the practical effects. They actually went on location. They actually built the Millennium Falcon. They actually, you know, built a lot of the sets and spaceships and all that other stuff, as opposed to just putting them in front of a green screen and saying, okay, action's coming from this way, just move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, and I think you could tell that in the acting in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Although, I do say people who give Hayden Christensen such a hard time in the prequels, I don't think he was the problem with the prequels.
No.
Anakin is, as I've said many times, a whiny bitch, and I think he did that perfectly.
Well, I think we can see now from The Force Awakens that it runs in the family.
Yes, exactly.
So we can definitely see that, of course. But
it's a Skywalker family tradition.
It's a Skywalker family tradition.
Except for Leia. Because she took after her mom.
She's kind of just... Well, take out the whiny part.
That's what I mean.
That's kind of her...
That's what I'm saying.
Alright, so overall you liked the film, right?
Yeah, overall I liked it.
Okay, we'll get into more of a rating system later on. So let's just go ahead and jump in. I just want to go through kind of scene by scene, character by character. I've got IMDb pulled up on my phone just so I don't miss anything. Because I feel like whenever I talk about this stuff, I always miss something. So I want to have a list and just go down the checklist of each character and make sure we talk about it. But starting off at the beginning, the day we were going to go see it, we had the discussion about we're not going to see the 20th Century Fox logo. Mm-hmm. We're not going to hear the music because it's owned by Disney now. So we were talking about if we're going to see the Disney logo in front of the Lucasfilm
and
logo.
They didn't do it.
You said, yeah.
I thought for sure they would.
And I wasn't sure. And of course, the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, Disney also owns Marvel, and they haven't put Disney in front of any of the Marvel movies either.
Yeah, true.
So when we get to theater, it's just silence and then the Lucasfilm logo, which I really enjoyed because one of the things I thought was going to be weird was not hearing that 20th Century Fox music, was not seeing the 20th Century Fox logo. So to just put nothing in front of it and just keep it silent, I thought was kind of a good transition.
Yeah, I thought it was very effective.
That was really cool. I liked that. Then we get to a long time ago. My blood started to pump. Star Wars pops on. I'm like, it says Episode 7, The Force Awakens. And then that first line, Luke Skywalker has vanished. Mm-hmm. And that first line gives you everything you want to know about what this movie is going to be about. Mm-hmm. And that the crawl I thought was very good. A lot better than the prequel crawls. Because the one thing I hated in the prequel crawls, especially the worst, was Episode 3 when it just said war. And I'm like, why would you start it like that? I don't get it. We know there's a war. We saw Episode 2. We know the war has started. I thought it was kind of stupid, but the crawl I really enjoyed. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I like the crawl. My only issue with the crawl, and this kind of goes into one of the things I didn't like about the film, was how they kept, like, hammering down your throat that Poe Dameron was a pilot.
He's a pilot.
He's a pilot. You know, like, they sent the crawl, you know, they start with that. They sent their best pilot. You know, and then, like, later when he's, like, flying around and...
Yeah, he's kicking butt. Like, literally, like Finn's watching him, and he's flying around, and he's, like, takes out, like, 7 guys in, like, one shot.
And then Finn's all like, what a great pilot! Like, it was, like, the most ridiculous line I thought in the whole movie.
Yeah, I know, right?
That, like, I just thought they kept... It was a little bit too, like, why are they so desperate to talk about that he's a great pilot? Like, I mean, I know... Because especially if you think about the original trilogy and the prequels... They talk a lot about how Anakin
is a great pilot.
Luke is a great pilot. So, like, why do they... Is Poe Dameron...
I don't think so.
I mean, I don't think so either, but it just seems weird. Like, if you're looking for those parallels...
You know, that's the
They talk so much in this movie about him being a pilot.
That's the thing about this movie is they left... I walked out of that film with more questions than I walked in with. Mm-hmm. You know, they did such a good job. You can obviously tell they're playing the long game.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They're opening this up, you know, for not only... episodes 8 and 9, but probably 10, 11, and 12 to go along with it, you know? There's so many questions that we had going into it that we did not get answered, and it's just luckily we're not going to wait 3 years. It's only a year and a half. But oh my God, even with only 2 weeks or less since the movie's been out, there are so many crazy fan theories about everything. Everybody's going back to this movie now, and that's the thing I think they did was they left so many things to analyze in this film as to the questions they didn't answer. People are going back for a third or fourth viewing just to try to get those little tidbits, to try to analyze it a little bit better.
Yeah. I know you have a plan on who we're talking about today, but since I've already brought Poe Dameron up, the whole thing in the crawl, they start with talking about how they sent their best pilot. And, based on the trailers and the posters, I didn't realize Poe was going to have such a big role. The posters, he was the tiny little face in the middle of the poster. Yeah. All the trailers and stuff, you really didn't get much of a... I was surprised that he had such a prominent role in the film.
See, I wasn't sure about that.
And that BB-8 was his droid. Yeah. And, I was surprised. And then when they're talking about all this, such a great pilot, it's ramming it down your throat in the whole film, it just makes me wonder what his role really is. Because I feel like he's going to be bigger than we thought.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, too, of this movie. They have a lot of supporting characters that you really didn't analyze too much, like Finn, or I think Captain Phasma, or General Hux, that had small roles in it, but I think they're going to pay off and get bigger as the trilogy goes on. I feel like in the next one, Rey is off doing her probably Jedi training or whatever with Luke, and Finn is left with the Resistance and Poe. And I think they're really going to start to play up that Poe and Finn friendship, actually.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. I can see that happening.
Yeah, I just feel like what I took away is that I think Poe is a much bigger character than we thought he was going to be.
I think so, yeah.
I think he's going to play a big part.
Yeah, definitely that. So,
especially because this whole emphasizing he's a great pilot thing. It just, there's too many parallels to the Skywalkers. I wonder if maybe there is something
You think
there.
He's in that lineage?
I don't know. I'm just saying. He didn't seem to have any Force ability, but it just seemed weird to me. If you're looking for parallels, and everyone keeps saying how this one so paralleled A New Hope or whatever, if you look at the parallels, I just thought it was just struck me as a little bit interesting.
I gotcha. Okay. So speaking of Poe, the first scene of the film, we're in that village on Jakku, and Poe is getting handed some information from the Max von Sydow character. Now, I thought Max von Sydow's character, which is, I got his name here coming up here.
Yeah, I read it somewhere too.
I thought he was going to be a much bigger character, Lord Santeca. I thought he was going to be a much bigger deal, but turns out he was like a one-and-done character. It was nice, though, because there's more to him. Kylo Ren shows up. You can see that Max von Sydow's character, he knows him, he knows his past, he knows who he is, and there's a history there. There's a lot of stuff like with Maz or this character that I feel like we're going to get in the books. They're going to take those characters that they've introduced us to, and we're also curious about more about these characters. They're going to give us more about these. I can see this Lord guy having been trained with Luke or in that inner circle with Luke when he was trying to start the Jedi Order, and he was probably there when all the bad stuff went down. That's how he knows Kylo Ren. That's how he knows where Luke is. I feel like he's in that. Now, what I want to introduce is, do you think he's someone we've seen already? Because there were theories that he was either an older Boba Fett or an older Kanan. Do you believe that at all?
I don't know.
Granted, his character name is different.
That doesn't always mean anything.
Exactly, because given the...
Kanan, though, already changed his name
I was just about to say, given the fact that Kanan's already changed his name from Caleb to Kanan, when bad stuff went down, again, could he have changed his name
Do you think he was a Jedi, though?
I don't know.
I
have no idea.
The little tiny scene that he was in...
I think he's close to Luke.
Yeah, but I don't think he's a Jedi. I didn't get a Jedi vibe from him.
Could be.
I don't know. I don't think we knew... I don't think we got enough about it.
So,
about him.
Again, like I said, I think he's close because Leia sent Poe to go find him. Because she knows that he knows, again, part of where Luke is. So, again, I think he was part of that inner circle. Although, somewhere in that 30 years, he popped up. He got close to the Skywalker Solo clan, I think. And that's why Leia sent Poe, because she knows Luke trusted him to know where he is.
Yeah.
With that. So, But the cool thing, I love the introduction of Kylo Ren as well. Kind of definitely showed him as a badass. He kills Max von Sydow's character, and when Poe shoots him, he stops the laser blast. That was like really cool, showing you just how strong in the Force this character is. Because at the end there, you have the ending lightsaber battle, where he's going against Finn and Rey, and they kind of, it's kind of almost even.
I don't think it was even. I mean,
but let me say,
I think he was toying with Finn.
I think so. With Finn, yes. And I don't think he really wanted to hurt Rey because he knew her powers could be useful, of course.
Yes.
Because dark side of the people, they always want to convert.
I think he was toying with Finn, and I think he was injured. So I think with Rey, and Rey obviously had some kind of previous training.
The entire film, they showed Kylo Ren as kind of this badass or whatever. So when it got to that lightsaber battle, I was like, why is he, having so much difficulty with him? And I remembered, I'm like, duh, he's injured. Chewie shot him, okay?
Yeah.
He's bleeding to death. That's why he's not, like, breaking out some bad, lightsaber skills is what it is.
I don't know, though, because, how what you're saying, how the movie kept showing him as a badass. I think the movie did show him, yes, as a badass, but I think it also showed him as having a lot of weakness.
Yeah, he's still in training, yeah, I mean.
Well, no, I don't mean that he's still in training. Like, he's struggling with the scene where he's talking to Darth Vader's helmet. I think that the movie did really good at showing that he's trying to portray himself as a badass.
Yeah.
But I do think that he has an inner struggle that he has not come to grasp with. And I think that at the end, him killing his father, I think he did that to try to, quench that inner battle he has with himself. But I don't think it worked.
I think it's one step he wanted to go towards. Let's just go into Kylo Ren totally here. He's a guy who wants power.
Yes.
Much like Anakin, he's a guy who wants to be more powerful. And he knows that the dark side is going to give him that power that he wants. So while he was raised to be a Jedi, to be a good person, he got a taste of the dark side, much like Anakin did. And he wanted more. So, and he knows the way to go that way is to embrace the dark side. And something he felt was going to
hold him back
was that. Yeah, so with Kylo Ren, I think he is a much more complicated character than we originally thought. I think I like that a lot, actually, because it's a lot to play with. Now, in this next one, I think he's going to, much like how Rey, I feel, is going to do her Jedi training in the next one, Kylo Ren is going to do his dark side or Sith training in the next one. And then then Rey and Kylo Ren, whether they meet up in this one or in the third film, it's going to come down to the battle between the two of them. You can already tell it's going to be about these two characters, their growth, and their final showdown as well.
No, I agree. I think that the Kylo Ren character has a lot that they can play with. I think it's interesting. I would like to know why, like, a little bit of backstory, and I'm hoping maybe they'll come up with something like this, maybe in a comic or a novel or something.
It'll be a book.
Yeah, because I'm curious to see why he idolizes Darth Vader so much, because he doesn't seem to really understand, though, why Darth Vader was doing what he did.
Like, he doesn't know his backstory?
Yeah, because it's like, he's trying to finish what he started, sure, but he started that because he was trying to save the people he loves. That's, he was trying to save his wife. So, and, keep people he loves from dying, where Kylo Ren has people that love him and that you would think loves, and he doesn't seem to give a crap about them. So, like, I'm curious to see, like, it seems like maybe he only got bits and pieces of the Darth Vader story.
He didn't get the full story of what happened to him. But
right, he doesn't seem to know that Darth Vader kind of redeemed himself in the end. Like, Luke,
Luke was the only one there.
Right, but Luke trained Kylo Ren.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
what did Luke... First off, we got to think about, as far as backstory with Anakin, what did Luke know? Because all he knew is what Ben told him.
Right.
What Obi-Wan told him. So we don't know exactly what all... Did he go into great detail? Be like, he turned to the dark side because he was trying to save your mother and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then from there, of course, we don't know what Luke knew about that. And we also don't know what he told everyone else as well.
Right. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what... I'm curious to learn about Kylo Ren's his backstory. But he certainly fits in the Skywalker lineage.
Yeah, he's like, what do I do?
Yeah,
I'm so torn. I'm so...
Yeah, he definitely... someone I saw something on Facebook today or yesterday that somebody created a Twitter page. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've seen the Twitter page.
And it's supposed to be like super emo. And I mean, and I totally get it. One thing I didn't quite understand about him is why he wears that mask that alters his voice. Like, Darth Vader had that because he needed it to be alive.
Live, yeah.
But like previous Siths before that, none of them wore masks. You know, like the ones like in the Clone Wars.
Darth Maul didn't, Count Dooku didn't.
Yeah, none of them. It wasn't like, so I wondered why he had a mask, especially one that seemed to give him that almost electronic sounding voice. Like he was just trying to mimic Vader. Like it seemed kind of strange. And he seemed, because especially since he seemed so willing to take it off. Like, it wasn't like,
that's
he's
one
like,
thing
I'll just take it off to talk to you. Oh, I'll just take it off to talk to you.
One thing I hated is he took his mask off twice in the film, okay? That kind of reveal, like, because you're thinking he wears a mask because he's ugly underneath or something. So when he takes off the mask and reveal he's perfectly fine, that's a great reveal. But to do it twice, I don't like that. He should have done it once. And if they were going to do it once...
It should have been just with Han.
It should have been just with Han, exactly. Yeah. And when he faced his father, that should have been the only time he should have taken it off. So I have a problem with that. It took away the dramatic effect of him taking it off for Han because he did it earlier with Rey.
But unless he took it off with Rey as well because they're related.
They're related, I know. That's the thing, too, is... Okay, let's finish on Kylo Ren before we move over to that side. But I'm going to move from Kylo Ren over to Snoke because obviously, like... Han and Leia hinted that Snoke did this to their son. He lured them to this side.
Who is he? Yeah, I mean, that's the big question.
That's the big thing. Is like, I mean, of course, the most dominant theory is he is Darth Plagueis, the guy that Palpatine talked about in Episode 3.
And his master.
Darth Plagueis the Wise was Palpatine's master.
But he was a Sith. And Kylo Ren is not a Sith.
Well, that's true. But Kylo Ren, remember, he hasn't actually... got much of his training. He can't call himself a Sith. Like in the Clone Wars, Asajj Ventress was not a Sith. She was a disciple of Count Dooku, who was a Sith. So you can use the dark side, but not be a Sith. You have to have. It's like you say you can go to nursing school, but unless you actually finish and actually become a nurse, you can't call yourself a nurse.
I guess so.
In that respect, but with Snoke, I can see him being Darth Plagueis, definitely. People are, kind of comparing the two as far as the way they look. But if you look at Snoke as well, he's got his, face kind of messed up. Like, he's got a lot of scars. The top of his head is kind of messed up. It looks like someone who's been through death. Because Darth Plagueis, Palpatine killed his master. He killed Darth Plagueis. But we also know that Plagueis had the ability to create life.
Yeah.
So maybe he brought himself back. Could be one of those things where he was that powerful. Could be that. We don't really know. All we know is this next one is that Kylo Ren is going to begin his dark side training with Snoke. Because I think Snoke now knows, okay, there's a new girl in town. Her name is Rey, and she is very powerful in the Force. And unless I train you in the ways to defeat her, she's going to be the end of all of us.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's I thought it was kind of weird. I mean, I thought it was cool how they did like that projection to make him look giant.
Yeah, at first I thought he was going to be a giant. I'm like, why is he that big?
Yeah.
But then you realize it's a projection, so he's not really going to be that big, I imagine. He's just going to look that way.
Yeah. But what I am trying to figure out too is like, because sure, he seems to be that he's like this dark, potential,
Supreme
possibly the Sith, but
leader.
Then how General Hux keeps calling him, Supreme Leader. So, because the First Order is supposed to be like the remnants of
the Empire.
Of the Empire, right. So when Palpatine dies and all the, his followers, were they just kind of, hovering around in this, with no direction, and then Snoke just came in and was like, hey,
so
I'm in charge now.
There's a lot, of course, based off, some of the books and comic books that have come out, where it wasn't just, hey, we blew up the second Death Star, we won, let's start the old Republic, the Empire is gone. It wasn't like that. There were many, many years of battles after that, and the Battle of Jakku being a very famous one, of course. Mm-hmm. Even in the comic book Shattered Empire, you still have the Empire out, and one of the things that was interesting as well was in that comic book, Leia went to Naboo to talk to someone about, joining the Republic, the New Republic, I mean. And while she was there, the Empire showed up, actually, because there was actually a clause or kind of a message from Palpatine to go to certain Imperial generals or commanders that in the event of his death, you need to go do this. They have a mission. And this person's mission was to go to Naboo, which is Palpatine's home world, and kind of, I think, destroy some evidence of him. So I feel like that's what it is. I think that more is going to come out about that, where Palpatine had all these secrets, all these little things hidden throughout the galaxy, and he didn't want Luke or any of the Jedi or the Republic getting a hold of him. So that's why he sent these Imperial ships or generals to be like, hey, go destroy this before somebody else finds it. Which understandable. And with Snoke, I believe, if he is Darth Plagueis, he's probably been in the background this whole time, watching, the events, watching when the Death Star was destroyed, when Palpatine was destroyed, and that left a power vacuum that he knew he could step in and take it.
Yeah, okay.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So let's go to the next character we introduced in the film, which is Finn. John Boyega, I wasn't too sold on his performance. I thought he went a little over the top.
Yeah, I agree. I think he kind of overacted a little bit. But I liked him. I think he did a good job.
When I went back a second time, I tried to analyze the performance a little better because I wasn't crazy about him in my first viewing. The second viewing, he started out good. I could see everything. But towards the end there, he was still doing the big expressions, and it didn't fit very well. So while I am interested for the character to see where he goes, I still think the character was pretty good, especially compared to some of the prequel characters. Yeah. I wasn't crazy about him.
I thought he was pretty likable. I thought he was very believable. I liked him. I just thought he overacted just a little bit. But I really liked him.
One thing I like is, I'm reading this book I just picked up from the library before The Awakening. And it tells you about Finn, Rey, and Poe right before The Force Awakens, what they were doing. So that mission on Jakku, that was Finn's first actual mission. He was a cadet this whole time. They sent him out to Jakku for his first mission. He saw the manslaughter and realized, hey, this is not what I want. But he'd been in the Empire or the First Order that all his life. So how could he go through that whole time? And then the first mission, he's like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm not going to do this. But you learn in this book that he has had doubts about this the whole time. And you also realize he actually has a relationship with Captain Phasma as well. That's why, at the end of that mission, she goes up to him and be like, hey, don't take your helmet off. She knows him pretty well. Because Finn, in the school, was a very good cadet. He did a really good job. Phasma kind of singled him out as probably one of the best she's seen. But he also had a tendency to look more after his unit as opposed to the mission. When they were training in these simulators or whatever, Finn went back for the other men that were injured and stuff like that, as opposed to trying to continue the mission. So she saw that as a real flaw. So you can see from that, he does have that empathy early on, to where now I can see, hey, now I know this character. He does have that before the movie, so when he goes to it, you can see that. And another thing is, the two stormtroopers that are kind of singled out in the movie as well, the first one being the one that dies in front of Finn, and he wipes kind of his blood on his helmet. That was one of his friends. One of two friends he had in the academy. That was one. The other friend he had was the one that attacked him.
Yeah, the one who called him a traitor.
Exactly. That was his other friend. Exactly.
Well, you knew that had to be his friend because that person recognized
him. Recognized him without his helmet.
Without his helmet, right.
And there was a scene. There's a scene in the book where they all take off their helmets. They describes them all, what they look like, and shows their kind of friendship and how they all feel. And that one they were showing, he really bought into the First Order propaganda, because every day these stormtroopers are fed Imperial propaganda. There's little videos showing how the Republic is bad and they're letting these certain planets starve, and the First Order has to save the galaxy and all that. Feeding them, much like Nazis.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, you got to think about it. They took, these kids, this is what, communist countries do, is they take children when they're children and start, indoctrinating them from very early age so that they grow up being what they want them to be. And in this case, they show that video when they're talking about Finn after he left, when Phasma and General Hux were talking. The little picture, that's a little tiny, that's like a 2 or 3 year old face. Yeah. They took him away from his family when he was tiny, so he... literally his entire life.
Yeah.
These aren't kind of like in Rebels, where those stormtroopers, those people, they choose to go.
Yeah, they're volunteers.
They're volunteers,
yeah.
Right? These are not volunteers. These are children who are taken from their families and their homes and grow up only ever knowing to be soldiers.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's very communist.
Yeah, and it's not like if they decide they don't want to do it, they can just be like, I'm out. You're stuck.
Yeah, in regards to the First Order too, another thing I didn't like that I felt like they should have explained better was the state of the galaxy when the movie started, because they said you had the First Order, you had the Republic, and you had the Resistance. And I was a little confused about, is the Resistance working with the Republic? Are they working separately? Who's the actual person in charge of the galaxy? Is it the Republic? Is it the First Order? But of course, more backstory reveals that the Republic did get set up. Everything was good. They actually made a deal with the Empire that they were all going to try to live in harmony. But Leia was like, no, you can't trust them. They're planning something. Mm-hmm. Of course, they turned to the First Order. It actually was building an army against the Republic. And that's when Leia, of course, built the Resistance to fight against the First Order. But just seeing the movie, you don't get that. I feel like they should have explained that a little better.
Well, and especially since a huge part of this movie was the Starkiller destroying those 5 planets.
Yeah.
Which basically they just destroyed the Republic.
Yeah,
I mean, they literally destroyed the Republic in one foul swoop, and it was just like a minute on screen.
Yeah.
You don't really know. I mean, like, because remember afterward when we were talking about it, I was like, I'm pretty sure they blew up the Republic. The senators.
You thought it was Coruscant.
Well, I just assumed it was Coruscant because I didn't know that they had changed it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I knew that they had just destroyed all the senators, like the Senate. They had destroyed the Senate, but you didn't even catch it the first time through. That's how blip it was
exactly.
in the movie.
It wasn't that big a deal. I really think if they would have destroyed Coruscant, it should have been a big deal, because we've seen that featured especially heavily in the prequels. Mm-hmm. We knew it as the center of the Republic during the Old Republic days, so I felt it was such a bigger deal. Starkiller Base was my least favorite part of this entire film. Mm-hmm. I didn't like, this is all very remnant of A New Hope. You got the droid with information in the mission. You got the base that destroys planets. You got Poe Dameron going down the trench trying to destroy the Death Star thing. It was too much for me. I think there are other ways to have a bigger threat in the galaxy than just making another planet that can destroy another base that can destroy planets. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they're going to destroy 5 planets at a time, that's billions and billions of people.
And they just brushed over
Exactly,
it.
They brushed over so quickly.
Well, that's why I said they could be, especially since they hadn't even established what the Republic was. Uh-huh. The fact that they, number one, didn't make it really very clear that what they destroyed there was the Republic, and then that they killed all those people.
All of them, not just
But you didn't even feel bad about it because you didn't know anybody. You didn't really understand.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You didn't care.
It wasn't right. It wasn't like in A New Hope when they destroyed Alderaan and you had an attachment.
I mean, Leia was like, no, Alderaan's
that's
peaceful.
My home.
That's my home. We have no weapons. Give it some kind of introduction at least.
Yeah, to at least make you kind of feel bad. Like this one, it was just kind of like you saw the people standing there and then it's over. Like meh.
And then so we'll go into this in a little bit. Just tuck Beer off a little bit. Going into Kylo Ren versus Anakin, because now that Kylo Ren is taking his journey to the dark side, people are like, okay, will he be redeemed at the end?
Hells no.
But he killed Han Solo, so people are like, no, we don't want him redeemed. He killed one of our beloved characters, Han Solo. We don't want him redeemed. And that's very different. We're like, well, Anakin got redeemed at the end. Anakin killed a bunch of
people you didn't care about.
Yeah,
you didn't know anything about.
He killed children, but we had no idea who those children were. Mm-hmm. We had no idea about who the Jedi he killed.
Yeah. I mean, he was a bad person. Yes, he killed lots of people. Yes,
but it's not people we know and care about.
Right. Whereas Kylo Ren, like our first introduction
sounds
to
bad
him,
saying it like that.
He kills Han Solo. Like, come on.
It's like
he killed his father.
Yeah, exactly. That's the ultimate evil.
Yeah,
I think.
He killed his father. I don't think he has a redemption.
And that goes into again. The Star Killer base killed all these billions of people, but we didn't know about it, so we didn't care about it. So just the fact that we had to get this other Death Star in there, it's like I felt like they could have come up with another thing they could have attacked or another mission that wouldn't another Death Star.
And then even at the end, it's the exact same thing. They're getting ready to kill the rebel base. Yeah. So let's stop them before they kill all of us too. Like it was
all the other homages to New Hope. I didn't mind. I didn't mind that he had BB-8 with the information.
I love BB-8.
Yeah, I mean he had the exact same mission pretty much as R2-D2, and I didn't mind that at all. It was just Starkiller was a little bit too over the head, a little too obvious.
Yeah,
I think they could have done something else with that. So. Okay, so I'm going to skip over Rey because that's going to be a whole big discussion there. Mm-hmm. So I'll move on to some of the other ones. Since we're sticking with the First Order, General Hux. I thought he was a little bit too... I liked his interaction with Kylo Ren. They were like bickering, you know?
Yeah.
Kylo Ren's all about the Jedi and Luke and destroying that. General Hux...
He doesn't really seem to care about the First Order.
No, he's all about
Yeah.
Luke, you know? And he's like... And then Hux mentioned, is it a personal vendetta or, you know, personal choice? Because, again, Hux probably knows who Kylo Ren is. He knows that, you know, Luke is probably his master, his uncle. He knows he can probably, you know, play into his feelings a little bit on that. But I like their little back and forth. That was nice. That's kind of one of the only few things I liked about General Hux.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, I don't think they gave you much to go on with his character.
Again,
I think he basically was like every evil dictator you've ever seen.
He was very cardboard, you know, cookie cutter, except when he was with Kylo Ren. So in that regards, I'm hoping he's another supporting character we get to flesh out a little bit more in the next couple of films. I mean, is he second to, you know, Snoke, or is there other people that are also as high ranking as he is with Kylo Ren?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
He wasn't as interesting. Like with Tarkin, you had Tarkin running the Death Star in the first film, and Tarkin, well, in the film briefly, gave, you know, a much better in-depth as to who this person was than we got from Hux.
Yeah, I agree. I think Hux's character has a lot more that it can do, though. Like, I don't think that there was anything it can't recover from. It just didn't get developed enough. Unlike, can we move to Phasma? So Captain Phasma.
Phasma, go for it.
Like,
I was gonna go there next.
I know, good. Okay, because that was such a wasted character.
And another one, hopefully they will build up later on.
Well, I hope so, but my reluctance with that one is building Captain Phasma up now. Like, at least, okay, with Hux, he didn't really get developed, but they didn't do anything bad with his character. Where with Phasma, they didn't really build her up, but they made her look like a moron.
Yeah, and the worst part was, I think, when towards the end there, when they captured her and made her turn off the shield.
And they're all like, just turn them off, and she's like, okay.
What kind of badass would do that? You'd be like, just shoot me.
Exactly.
You know?
Like, that is what I did not understand at all. Like, I feel like her character has a long way to come, because they're going to have to bring her back up from the you're a moron.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't look like a badass to me
she got
at all.
owned. And that's the thing. The one thing, someone, I mentioned this, whatever, you could have saved that character in one scene, and that was replacing that stormtrooper character that Finn fought with her.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been so much better, because that character was a badass.
Exactly.
Like,
if you would
have that cool thing.
If you would have put her there instead of that random stormtrooper that nobody knows who he is, then you could have saved the character a little bit and given that badass. Because they said that Phasma is going to be like the new Boba Fett, the kind of cool, badass warrior, hitman, bounty hunter-ish kind of character. And I didn't get it all from this.
No, I got from that, all we got from her in this movie was that she was a pushover. Like, she just looked like a total pushover.
To be fair, I think Boba Fett's a pushover too.
Well, if we're going to be...
I'm not a Boba Fett fan.
If we're going to be doing the Boba Fett parallels, then...
There's that. But anyway, so yeah, that character left a little bit to be desired. And I think that covers the First Order. So let's move over to La Resistance. My second least favorite part in this film was General Leia. So Leia in the original trilogy was such a badass for a girl, you know? Even
for a girl?
Well, she was a badass in general. I'm just saying, obviously... Okay, I'm going to get bit in the ass for that one later on. But when we watched A New Hope, I was watching A New Hope, and I was like, God, this girl's such a bitch, you know? These guys come up to save her life, and all she can do is bark orders at her.
She's a princess.
Yeah, it's whatever.
She's like literally a princess.
Whatever. Anyway, when someone comes to save your life, you're grateful, okay? You say, thank you so much. You obviously know what you're doing because you got all the way in here. Let me
Yeah, but they obviously did not know what they're doing. Have you seen A New Hope?
I have seen A New Hope. And you know what? They still made out okay, all right?
Thanks to Leia.
What? No, not even. They had Obi-Wan Kenobi there to help him out, okay?
Anyway,
but yeah. And then throughout the entire trilogy, she is holding it right down there with the boys, you know, kicking ass. She's still got that vulnerability about her, but she's totally badass. She's very fiery, you know. You see the passion in her throughout the entire trilogy. In this film, I did not feel that. I felt like, yeah, I think she's a general, so she's in charge of the Resistance. I can see her being a little more calm and collective, but I think a lot of it has to do with Carrie Fisher, the fact that she hasn't acted in a while, and the fact that she has gone through so many changes in her personal life, it has affected her ability to act as well.
I don't know. I thought that her reserve was suited to the character at this point. I mean, I think about what she's been through. And I mean, I think she's older. She's tired of... I mean, she spent her entire life fighting.
Yeah.
You know, and then she gets a little bit of, I guess, kind of sort of happiness. And then her kid turns evil and... She
gets divorced or separated.
Yeah, her husband runs off because he doesn't want to deal with it.
Her brother runs off as well. She's literally left with just 3PO.
Exactly.
And that would drive anyone crazy.
I mean, that's what I think that her reserve in this point and her kind of calm and collected, I think it is completely appropriate based on her history.
There were times where like she was talking and like her mouth wasn't even really moving. It was like... You know,
well, I think that's a result of plastic surgery.
It's something that wasn't good.
Her voice sounds too like she's been a heavy smoker for a long time.
Well, she has, of course.
Well, I know.
And that's what it is. I think it had a lot to do with all the supposed drugs and smoking and alcohol that she's gone throughout the years that has affected. It's not the girl we saw in the trilogy who can bring out that passion in the character and really make it larger than life.
Mm-hmm. Well, you think about it though, is that Carrie Fisher has had a rough life. Leia has had a rough life. Her life has never been easy. Ever.
I wasn't a big fan. I mean, the way, when she went up against Harrison Ford, those scenes just fell flat. I felt like Harrison Ford, he was doing a much better job than what she was.
Yeah, but I think that was appropriate to that scene. You gotta think about it. They haven't seen each other in years. And it seems from the way they were talking that he kind of left without any kind of explanation.
God, there's just so much we don't know. It's driving me crazy. Like,
I mean, from what he said, the way he talked to her, he said, I couldn't deal with it. He was worried that every time she looked at him, it would make her think of Ben. Yeah. But, and then she said, I don't want to forget him. So it sounds like Han just was like, oh, it's tough, I'm out, and just left.
It seems like that's what both boys did. Luke and Han are like, oh, it's tough, it fell apart later.
Yeah, I'm out.
And Leia's standing there like, what
the hell? Exactly. I mean, I thought that her and his interaction is exactly how it would be if your husband showed up after years and was all like, hey, sorry I left. I didn't know how to deal with it, so I just was like, F you, I'm out. But here I am. Our son's evil. I saw him. You know what I mean? Like, I think that, what would you expect them to be all like, hey, happy smiles and hugs and kisses?
No, I just expected a little bit better acting.
She's probably pissed as shit at him. I thought it was totally appropriate acting.
Okay, so let's go float over to Han. Harrison Ford in this film, doing Han Solo, what he does best. The scene, their introduction was cool. I love Han's role in this as far as now he is the mentor character. He has to tell Rey and Finn what's going on, what's happened and all that jazz. And he's back to being a smuggler, his roots. I like that, when things fell apart, Han went back to what he feels like he does best and what he knows, but really he doesn't do it best because he's always owing somebody money. At it. He's owed Jabba money in the first trilogy. He owes these guys money in this next one as well. He's just not very good at being a smuggler, I don't think, as well, which kind of feeds into the character too, where he turns to that lifestyle because he's not really good at anything else. So he figures maybe he can do this, maybe he's good at that. It's a way for him to escape, of course, what has happened. Chewie, of course, beside it the whole time because you gotta always have your faithful companion by your side too. But Harrison Ford, loved him in this film.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought he did great. I have no complaints about.
No complaints at all. I think he did the best he could. Mm-hmm. He finally got the Han Solo death that he wanted because he wanted Han to die all the way back in Return of the Jedi, and now people are like, well, maybe Han's coming back.
No,
Han's not coming back, guys. You know what? Harrison Ford wanted Han to die all the way back 30 years ago. This is the death he got. That's probably one of the reasons they got him to come back and be like, hey, let's give Han the proper death as well. And, of course, an impactful death because it impacts every character. It impacts Kylo Ren, Rey, Finn, Leia. I did like the little thing with Leia where she felt in the Force that Han died. So she kind of, took a moment, caught her breath, and kind of fell down a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
Some people are like, "Oh, she should have broke down in tears."
She wouldn't do that.
She wouldn't do that because she's too strong of a character. Plus, she meant a lot to him. But like you said, they haven't seen each other in years.
Yeah, and she certainly wouldn't have done that surrounded by all of her subordinates.
Yeah, I'm sure she probably went to her bunk later on.
Had her private moment.
Broke down.
Yeah, there's no way she would break down with all the people around her. She's a general.
What Han and Leia means to some fans, I think they just wanted more of a reaction from her, is what it was. But I thought it was fine. I mean, that's another thing I'm looking forward to going into the actual novelization of the movie. And I love going in and finding all those nuances. I'd love to go to the book and see a scene like that where she does go into her private quarters and completely breaks down. I doubt it's in it, but I like going to the novelization. I love going to the novelizations, getting inside the characters' heads a little bit more, getting a little bit of those extra scenes that were deleted, stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to that. But Harrison Ford, awesome. With Chewbacca, I like that he's kind of transitioned now to where he's kind of Rey's co-pilot.
Yeah, I thought it was
in
cool.
the Millennium Falcon. No.
I mean, Chewie was Chewie.
Chewie was Chewie. Exactly.
You know,
he was Chewie. I want to transition to that, but again, that's going to get into the Rey discussion. And I want to save that till the end, so I got to make sure there's no one else to talk about except for Rey. And in that regard, let's go to Maz, played by Lupita Nyong'o. You didn't know it was her because there's all the CD. What'd you think of her character?
I thought she was interesting.
I thought she was really
kind
great.
of curious to see more about her.
And
They definitely left a lot open there. I mean, having that place for like 1,000 years, and why does she have the lightsaber and all the other things that are down in that room? Like, who is she?
Exactly.
I'm curious.
I think that's another book that's going to be written. Is how she gets the lightsaber, her whole backstory. I think they created a very interesting character where she really knows all these characters, knows really what's going on.
Yeah, and the way she can read people. I'm curious to
how
see.
She knows it. I'm really curious what she said when she looks over at Finn and is like, I've seen those eyes before. What does that mean?
She says in the next line.
Well, it's like a man who wants to run.
Yeah.
But is there more to it than that? Is it like, hey, I've seen this guy before because you're a clone or something, you know?
Oh, I don't think it's that at all.
I don't know. I think they got to add more depth to Finn. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I'm sure they
got to give Finn a better backstory than, hey, I'm just a stormtrooper.
I don't know. Why? Why do you think?
I feel like he's got to have more to it. To be that different from all the other stormtroopers, there's got to be something more special about him. To him feel the way that he does, that nobody else has, there's got to be more to that character, I believe.
Maybe.
Maybe. So.
Maybe.
Okay, let me run down the list here, make sure we're not missing anybody. Hold on. Covered him, covered Snoke, covered Hux, Chewie.
Hey, we didn't talk about BB-8.
BB-8.
Okay, how about 3PO was totally thrown away in this movie?
Good.
He didn't even need to be in it. Hey, shut up! I love 3PO.
That's the problem. Yes, I know.
3PO wasn't in. Like the bits he was in it were totally worthless.
Because they were trying to focus so much on BB-8.
Yeah, but it's fine. But I mean, I love BB-8.
They got to sell their toys.
But in the original trilogy, you know, R2 and 3PO were both important characters. They both had.
But like I said, they have a new toy to sell now.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I think they almost didn't even need to put 3PO in it. Like, why was he even there? You know what I mean?
Because he's 3PO.
I guess.
I'm still curious of what happened to his arm. Why did he get the red arm?
I don't know.
I mean, probably it's one of those many times that, of course, he fell apart and they had to put him back together and be like, oh, this arm's ruined. Let's just get you a new arm.
Yeah.
All the times that he's, been taken apart and put back together because he gets in trouble. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of those things.
Yeah, I really like BB-8 though.
I was kind of disappointed about R2, about how he was, not in more of the film. I figured he'd be right there either with Luke or with, 3PO.
Yeah, but now that he's awake, I think he's going to have a bigger part in the next
True.
film.
And I guess, he served his purpose where he had the other half of the map.
Speaking of the map, can we just talk about the map?
What about the map?
Okay, the map. Tell me, so this really isn't a map about Luke. It's a map to this Jedi temple, correct?
I'm assuming so.
So, because, they talk about how they all assumed he went looking for the first Jedi temple. But my thing is, if it's a map to Luke, why would he have left a map to where he was going?
Because, just in case.
In case what?
Well, that's one of those things as well, too, that we can't avoid it. So let's just jump right into Rey, okay?
Oh, no, hold on. Let me just say one more thing about this map. Because if it's a map to Luke, it didn't make any sense to me. Like, if he's really trying to escape, why would he have been like, okay, I'm going to make a map to where I am. I'm going to take a piece out and hide it over here. Like, I just thought was stupid. If it is really just a map to the first Jedi temple, and they're just assuming that's where he is, then I can kind of see why there was a map to that. But I just found the map to be strange.
The map is for when Rey was ready to find Luke.
That's what you think.
That's what I think. I'm going to go with that. I probably don't 100% believe that, but that's my best guess at this point. When Rey was ready, because Rey, I know obviously whether you believe that Rey is Luke's daughter or not.
Either way, she trained.
She trained with Luke. Luke knows who she is. Luke knows that she is powerful in the Force.
And that's why he hid her away.
That's why he hid her away, or somebody did, or he told somebody to hid her away. And, of course, hiding her on a desert planet makes sense because he was hidden on a desert planet. His father came from a desert planet. All that jazz. That makes sense. So when Rey was ready, when she put it together, that's when it was time to go find her. Now, I just thought of this, just as I was saying it. Max von Sydow's character was also on Jakku, where Rey was. Do you think he was taking an Obi-Wan role and kind of looking after her?
Possibly.
I think that's because we always said he knows who Luke is. He knows, the map.
That totally makes sense. I mean, it has to be because there's no other explanation for how Rey is so powerful. I mean, not that her Force powers are strong, but the fact that she knows how to use them, kind of, sort of. The fact that she picks up so quickly on controlling people with the Force and using the lightsaber and those things. She had to have had some training.
Yeah. And
it looks like she was probably 5-ish when she was left on Jakku.
I don't know. She looked very almost close to 8 or 9, maybe.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
I don't know.
You think?
They'll tell us that later.
Well, because, I mean, people were talking about... I've heard some people say...
I'll read the book and see if it tells us.
That they removed her memories of it. But if she was 5 or younger, people don't remember when they're younger than that anyway. So it would be an easy explanation for why she didn't know who Luke was and she thought those were just stories and why she doesn't remember having been trained.
I'd rather go with a memory wipe.
It makes more sense to me if she was still little.
Because you saw in the movie where Kylo Ren could get inside people's memories. If Luke is as powerful as we think he is, he could probably take memories out.
Well, I'm sure. It just makes more sense to me that she was just young enough that she wouldn't have remembered it anyway.
Yeah, I gotcha. I mean, it's weird though that whoever left her with that one guy.
Yeah, Unkar
Plex, who was played by
Simon Pegg.
Yeah, what's his name? Unkar Plutt. Yeah, exactly.
I was looking it up.
I'm just making sure. I want to double check. All right, leaving him with kind of like a scoundrel like that really is kind of weird. I mean, at least Luke got left with his loving family. She got left with essentially, not a nice person or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and she was just fending for herself a little. So I mean, it does kind of make sense that Max von Sydow's character would have been there, kind of as like just keeping an eye.
And I just thought about that too. I'm like, oh my god, that totally makes sense. It's totally cool. Yes. Exactly. So, Rey, Daisy Ridley, a complete unknown. She's been acting for her whole life, but she's never been in a major feature film like this. Best part of the movie, hands down.
Yeah, I thought she was great.
Best part of the film, hands down. And now that we know she's pretty much going to be the centerpiece, the main hero of the film, it makes me more excited for the next couple of films as well, knowing that this actress who has done such a good job is going to be the centerpiece and going to carry on the story. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, she was my favorite part of the film. I mean, I love her. I think also too because I like BB-8 so much. Her and BB-8, the way that they interacted was so great. I mean, I thought she was awesome. Like, she did a great job. I think her acting was totally on exactly where it should have been. She was totally believable. I'm excited to see her carry this franchise.
I want to say, just from a social standpoint, having this female character now lead the Star Wars trilogy is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
I went back and I was watching her the second time, and when that ending scene where you see her and she grabs a lightsaber and she ignites it, I'm like, okay, we've seen female alien Jedi wield a lightsaber in the prequels, but we've never seen a character who we actually know light out that lightsaber and go to town. So I think that is really cool, especially, again, speaking from a social context, the main two characters are a black guy and a female now in a franchise that has been a lot of criticism, thank you, over the years for being mainly white males.
Yeah, no, I think it was a great move, and they found two really, I think, solid actors to lead this. And then, too, you throw in Poe Dameron. One of the things that my mom gets so frustrated about when she reads about them is they always talk about how I think it's Argentinian or something, because one of his parents is from Argentina and he was born there. But his other parent was Cuban, which, my mom is Cuban, so she always gets so mad they never talk about his Cuban side. They always but either way, he's also a minority. So you think about the three main
female, African American, and
Hispanic.
Exactly. So I think they're definitely trying to diversify, which I love.
And they're it wasn't like they were just like, oh, whatever. They picked really great actors.
Speaking from a guy who, of course, now has a daughter, I am totally psyched for having this female character that Nora can grow up and look up to as well. I think that's fabulous now.
So we got to get her one of those staffs now and teach her how to kick some ass with it.
Well, I'm already going to work on the whole kicking ass thing, okay? Remember I told you I'm going to train her to be Hit Girl, so we're fine there, right? But, but Rey, definitely the standout performance. Just want to get into theories right now?
Sure.
All right.
Biden.
So, of course, who are Rey's parents? That is the big question that is left at the end of this film. The prevailing theory is that she is Luke's daughter. There are 4 other theories that are floating around right now. Second, she's actually a Solo. That she is Kylo Ren's sister. That Han and Leia know who she is, and they, had Luke send her away for her own good when the proverbial shit hit the fan. She sent him away, okay? Third is she's a Kenobi.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
It's a stretch, but I can see similarities in some of the things that she does. Plus, in her visions, you get the voices of both actors who have played Obi-Wan Kenobi. Why would you go through the trouble of taking Alec Guinness's voice and meshing something together if you didn't want to emphasize that, that relationship in that, I think, in that instance. So that's Kenobi's another theory. Number 4, she's a descendant of Palpatine. That would make sense given that Kylo Ren or Ben Solo came from a good family and he's a bad guy. Rey coming from a bad family and being a, good girl. Good guy.
That's, I think, my least likely one. I just don't see Palpatine reproducing.
Whatever. When you got that much power, you got to get it on. I mean, come on. Bill Clinton couldn't keep it in his pants.
That's not what I mean. I just mean him. I don't know.
All right. So then the final theory, which is probably the biggest stretch, but actually I think if you connect the dots a little, it could make quite a bit of sense, is she is the true, if not second, chosen one.
Yeah, I heard someone say something about that. I mean, it would kind of make sense in that, allegedly Anakin was the chosen one, but he
died.
He did not. And so
obviously all those
bring balance to the Force.
All those midi-chlorians, that power. Remember, power in a physics sense, power never dies. It's simply transferred. Am I correct in that? So if you had that powerful being,
not power, but energy.
Energy, exactly. If you had all that energy from Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker, it didn't die. It had to go somewhere. So where would it go? It would go to Rey. Now, feeding into the theory also that Snoke is actually Darth Plagueis. In the Legend book, which is no longer part of canon, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. In the book Darth Plagueis, Snoke creates life. And in that book, we find out that he, in creating life, actually created Anakin, is what it is. So say if we have Darth Plagueis back, and he wants to go back and recreate life, what's to say he didn't do the same thing and create Rey?
I guess it's possible.
It is. I mean, he wants a big bad in there. Like, he knew how powerful Anakin was. He's like, well, if I can take that power again and actually, use it as opposed to losing it, I'm like, maybe I could do that. So maybe that's what it is. That's a theory.
Yeah.
Out of those theories, which one do you believe, or which one do you find more interesting? That'd be like, oh, that's kind of a stretch, but I can kind of see it. Or which one do you think is actually real?
I mean, I just think she has to be Luke's daughter because Star Wars is the story of the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
So if she's not Luke's daughter, then it doesn't make any sense.
She's got to be...
She's got to be a Skywalker.
A Skywalker or a Solo.
Right, so she's got to be either Leia's kid or Luke's kid. I think she has to be because that's always been the thing is that Star Wars, the actual Star Wars films, all the other stuff is everything else in the Star Wars universe, but the Star Wars films are the story of the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
And so this one has to have a Skywalker as the lead.
As the lead.
And unless we're going that Kylo Ren is that Skywalker.
I can see that too. But another thing I'm thinking is Leia at the end of the film when they're all celebrating that the Starkiller base has been destroyed, and Rey steps off the Millennium Falcon, and her and Leia embrace. That really seems like it's not just someone you just met.
Yeah.
It seems like someone you've known. Like, she's known Rey for quite a long time.
Even though Rey doesn't know her.
Rey doesn't know her. You know, she knows. She goes up to him. That's an embrace that really looks like they are family or know each other.
Well, and she walks right past Chewie, who's obviously hurting.
I was going to say that too. I was like, okay, she's known Chewie for quite a long time too.
And she knows that Chewie is Han's best friend.
Exactly, and he's going through probably a lot of crap right now too. But I think, Chewie went off. I think he went off to go help Finn as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the fact that she walked, I noticed that the second time I watched the film, I'm like, she walked right past Chewie. His best friend just died. What the hell?
Yeah.
After when we first see Leia, Chewie makes it a point to go up and give Leia a hug.
And exactly.
But you won't hug him when his best friend, your husband or whatever, just died. I mean, but yeah, again, she walks right and goes right to Rey.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like that is a very telling moment, and I think too in the way that Han interacts with her. I think when he first meets her, but like when he offers her, to fly with him, I think just the way that he's interacting with her implies a familiarity.
Yeah.
But maybe we were just looking for that.
I think, it could be one of the things where, he doesn't recognize her at first because she was a little girl.
Yeah, she's all grown up now, right.
So she changed her a little bit, but then he recognized it. I guess there was another review I was listening to was that scene where they first step off the Falcon and Rey's like, I've never seen greens.
I didn't know that this kind of green existed or whatever she says.
Exactly. Yeah. And Han allegedly gives her this look where it's like, kind of like, hey, I know what you've been through.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the look he gives her at that moment is... Because that's the scene where he offers her...
Yeah, the job, exactly.
The job.
Where he's like, hey, I know what you've been through, and this is my way of kind of trying to make up for it.
Yeah.
I guess you could say, like, trying to bring you back into the fold, under my wing, kind of, whether it be as a uncle or as a father.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I think she's got to be some kind of Skywalker. I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
But it's all the other theories. I don't see. They're interesting, but I don't see them.
Yeah, I think she's definitely either Luke's kid or Leia's kid. Like, I think it has to be one of the two.
But you really...
And also, when you look at how she interacted with Kylo Ren, like...
Yeah, I think Kylo knows who she is, too.
Oh, I think he does, too. And I think that it just seemed like the level that he was threatened by her...
Yeah.
In that first scene when he's talking to her, that level of, like... fear in his eyes. I think it's more than just
not even that.
She's Force
when
powerful.
When the guy goes up and talks to Kylo Ren and says the droid has escaped and so it's a stormtrooper, and he's like, what girl?
Yeah.
Like he knows. He's like, tell me about this girl.
Yeah, like I think he knows something. Like, especially if when he was at the Jedi Temple, when he turned evil, if she was there and he knew already that there was a super powerful little girl that he didn't get to kill. I mean, he killed all the other kids there.
Yeah.
If he knew that there was one girl that escaped...
I want to know more about that, too, because in that vision that Rey had, too, there was that shot where they were standing in the rain.
With all the Knights of Ren.
And there was the Knights of Ren. Where are those guys at?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I definitely think the way that he knew that there was a girl out there somewhere who was Force powerful, because he had to have known that if he killed all those kids in the Jedi Temple, he had to know it was
whether it be his cousin or his sister. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think there's a lot to come in that story.
I think there's a lot. I mean, for me, I have so many questions about just again what happened in those 30 years. We got a brief summary. Luke started up the Jedi Order. We know he was training Jedi. He was training Ben Solo. It all fell apart. Ben turned to the dark side and was seduced by Snoke to the dark side. He killed a lot of the other Jedi. Started his own order, the Knights of Ren. He worshipped Darth Vader. Luke went into hiding. All this stuff. I want to see it. Mm-hmm. It's such good drama.
You think it'll be a spin-off movie?
No, it'll be a book. They're not going to do a movie about that. No, because then you can't de-age Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and stuff like that. That's why they set this movie to be 30 years, just like because it's been 30 years since Return of the Jedi came out, so they had to take this 30 years so they would look their age.
Well, there could be a movie though about the Knights of Ren.
I could see that as well, but again, you can't have anyone else. That's another reason they killed Harrison Ford. You can't have anyone else play Han Solo, at least at this age. They're coming out with a young Han Solo. That's fine. You can't have anyone else play Princess Leia. You can't have anybody else play Luke Skywalker. Yeah. So in that regards, that's why it's going to be a book instead of a film, I think. I don't see an animated movie. I'd like to see an animated movie, but I know a lot of people wouldn't see that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, but in that essence, for me, the most obvious answer is Skywalker, but it can't be that obvious. It can't be that obvious. There's.
It could totally be that obvious, considering this movie was almost an exact parallel of A New Hope. It could totally be that obvious.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be that easy.
I guess we'll see.
I mean, it's easy, even to the general audience. Even like my buddy Sean texting me last night. The first thing he texted me, he was like, "So Rey's Luke's daughter, right?" And I'm like, "I don't know. They didn't tell us, you know." And he's not a big Star Wars guy, but he went and saw the movie, and I mean, he's thinking, "Hey, it's Luke's daughter." If you have so many people pointing towards that direction, it's a rope-a-dope, you know. You want everyone to look this way when really something's coming from behind. It can't be that obvious, I think. Whether she's a Solo or something other, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's going to drive us all crazy
Yes.
for the next year and a half. And I bet what they're going to do is give us more questions in episode 8. It's going to drive us even more crazy, and so on, and so on, and so on.
Something like that.
So overall, film, really liked it. Of course, we're going to see it a third time here tomorrow. Now that we've done this discussion, are there things that you're going to try to look for now that I've mentioned that you might try to look for even more when you go see it tomorrow?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely trying to look now at more of the details. Like, I feel like the first time through, it was just the big picture stuff.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
You were just looking at the big picture.
Yeah.
And I tried, like, last time to kind of... There were certain... Like, I tried to concentrate harder on the images when she touches the lightsaber. Excuse me. When she touches the lightsaber, I tried to concentrate a little bit more on that
voices,
scene.
Yeah,
I was trying to, like, look a little bit closer at all of the interactions. But, I don't know. Like, maybe this time I can just go and, like, not try to... just sit back and, like...
Especially when I tried to... I think I'm going to be, like, totally engulfed into 3D IMAX is what really it's going to be. Because, like, one of the best parts for me was that dogfight scene when they first got on the Falcon.
Oh, that was so cool.
That was so cool. And to see that in IMAX 3D, I think is going to be really cool. But just that scene in general was so much fun. Like, that was one of the scene where, like, if I wasn't into it then, I know the first time I saw that, even the second time, I was grinning like hell. I mean, when they go like, we don't want that ship, that's a hunk of junk. The hunk of junk or garbage it is, and he turns around, it's the Falcon. I'm like, it's the Falcon.
Yeah.
It was so cool, you know? And yeah, I'm just going to be, I want to look, especially the Vision. Like when I went to the second time, I really tried to concentrate on trying to pick everything I could from the Vision. Of course, I heard Yoda's voice, I heard Alec Guinness's, I heard McGregor's. I don't know what else I heard. I think there was Luke was in there too, I believe.
I don't remember.
It'd be cool if you heard Qui-Gon, but I don't think you'll hear that. But yeah, I want to concentrate more on that even more. So, so here's a question too. That is Luke's lightsaber, obviously. He lost in Empire Strikes Back, got his hand chopped off, it goes down the tube. How it gets to Maz's treasure chest, I don't know. Do you think there's a similar situation out there with Darth Vader's lightsaber that he loses in Return of the Jedi? Because he loses it and it falls down, of course. But if that goes straight out into a space, I can see the lightsaber still being around. If that doesn't go into space from there, it got blew up with the second Death Star.
Yeah, I don't know. But that is something interesting, too. The one thing that did not happen in this film is nobody got their hand cut off.
Well, nobody got their hand cut off in the first Star Wars.
Oh, I guess that is. It was Empire, wasn't it?
Okay, they'll get to that. Trust me. I have a feeling...
so the next film, Rey's going to get her hand chopped off.
I have a feeling either Rey or Finn are not going to walk out of the next film with all their limbs.
Yeah. Because I guess it was Empire and it was...
Return of the Jedi.
No,
yeah, it was Return of the Jedi. Well, no, because,
Luke got his hand cut off in
Luke got his
Empire.
hand cut off in Empire. Vader lost his hand in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Again.
But in Anakin, it was in the second one.
It was in the second one, Attack of the Clones.
Right.
Mace Windu lost his arm in
the third one.
In the third one, exactly.
So basically next film.
Yeah, exactly, because Phantom Menace, the first film of that trilogy, nobody lost their hand.
Right.
Although Darth Maul lost his torso.
His upper body.
Exactly. But he survived that, so
That's true.
There is that. But yeah, so it's like I said, it's all a mystery now. Now, here's another thing too. How powerful do you think Luke is?
I think he's incredibly powerful.
Do you think he's more powerful than Vader and the Emperor?
I don't know. I mean, it's different because he's good.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes it seems like in the past movies that the Sith were more powerful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a long time ago I read an interview with George Lucas, which, of course, since they've changed canon, who knows if it's true, but George Lucas, the godfather of it all, says the dark side is more powerful.
Well, of course it is, because the light, the things that you have to do to become that level of power, the light side, you still have your compassion, you still have your empathy, and I think that's a weakness.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that in a bad way, but it's a weakness.
Compassion, and that's something that goes back to, there's a line in the Revenge of the Sith comic book where when Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting, where like Anakin's like, you hesitate, that is a sign of compassion, and Obi-Wan was like, you're sloppy, that's the sign of arrogance, and that's kind of compassion and arrogance. That's the two sides are two weaknesses.
Right, but I think that the arrogance, if one of those things, arrogance or compassion, is going to make you weaker, I think it's the compassion.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I do think that there's an inherent weakness in the Jedi because they don't want to kill. Killing is not their first, their first line of defense.
No, they're all about preserving life.
Right, exactly. Where the Jedi are just like, or the Sith just kill. Yeah. Like there is no compassion. They don't care who you are, if you're a kid or you're whatever. They'll just kill you.
In the Jedi code, you're not supposed to kill unless it's to save another life, is what it is. And even there in the book that I read, oh gosh, what is it? Dark Disciple, that features in the Clone Wars with Asajj Ventress. The Jedi are taking this kind of discussion in the Jedi Council about, we need to kill Count Dooku. And everyone stops and is like, cold blood, not in self-defense. And they're like, it's a big issue for the council to actually suggest, because it goes against the Jedi code,
right,
to just kill in cold blood like that. And that looks kind of interesting because that goes into that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, George Lucas said the dark side is more powerful, but it leads to self-destruction because of that.
Right. Well, and because that's how it always is with power. People who desire power don't want to share it.
Exactly. Even in the original trilogy, Vader was like trying to get Luke to join him so they could take out the Emperor. Even in Return of the Jedi, the Emperor was trying to get Luke to join him so they could, rule. Because Palpatine thought he had the ultimate power apprentice in Anakin, which was ruined by the fact that he got,
they got what?
charcoaled, so to speak. So he wasn't as powerful as he wanted to be. Luke comes along and he's like, hey, this guy's got just as much power, if not, than Vader. And I'm like, and he's still got all of his limbs. So that's why he was trying to convert him. He was trying to make more powerful.
Yeah, he's always looking for the next most powerful thing. Yeah, and that's the thing. Power, people who are truly like looking for, and this goes with the real world too. I mean, when you think about it, it's people who have the most power are not usually good people.
They're the most greedy.
Yeah, and that's just how
the whole Sith Empire. There was a whole Sith Empire that killed each other off because they all craved power, and that's when they implemented the rule of two: one to have the power, one to crave it. And since then, every apprentice has killed their master because, again, they want the power. Is what it is.
Or they've tried to anyway.
They've tried to, at least, yes. So, but there's that. All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
No.
Oh, last thing I want to talk about. The scene where you first see Han on his ship when he gets on the Falcon, and you have those other smugglers, bounty hunters that are after him. The second time I saw that, I took that as a bathroom break because I didn't like that scene.
Yeah, that scene was kind of stupid. I thought it was kind of a throwback.
I heard it explained as very Men in Blackish because the creatures are so CGI, and the scene itself is kind of goofy.
I mean, the scene didn't really do anything.
It didn't do anything, yeah, exactly.
I mean, I didn't feel like it really contributed anything
although
to the
really
story.
It did kind of give us a sense of Han's world.
Yeah,
what he's been up to, what his life has been like. I guess you could go that. I just didn't like it.
It was a throwaway scene.
It wasn't very Star Wars-ish.
No,
it didn't feel like Star Wars too much.
It didn't progress the story that they were trying to tell.
Exactly.
It was definitely a bathroom break.
Okay, so here's another question I just thought of. Rey and Finn, potential lovers or best friends?
I think they're just going to be BFFs.
Like,
I think Finn would like it to be not, but...
Do you think either of them are going to hook up at all? I mean...
I don't know. Like with I think that Rey is going to start her Jedi training. I think she's going to be a Jedi.
So you think if she's going to be the Luke character, Luke really didn't have a love interest in the first trilogy.
Because he's trained to be a Jedi. They're not supposed to have love interests.
So they got to give a love interest to Finn, I think.
Yeah, I think Finn will have a love interest probably.
Or they could do a love triangle between Finn, Poe, and Rey.
No, I don't think that they're going to go that route again.
Yeah. I think it's better. The way they came off, I mean, yeah, Finn's like, who are you? Do you have a boyfriend? You know, he's like...
Yeah, but he's been a stormtrooper, like... tucked away. Yeah, I think he was like, oh, this girl, she's nice to me.
Like, yeah, she's kind of cute, right?
Yeah, she's kind of cute, yeah.
So I get that, but I think it's going to be better. I hope they don't go the love interest way. I think it'd be better if they go almost like a Han-Luke relationship where it grows into a strong friendship, really. But I think they got to have some love interest. I think Finn would be the most likely to give a love interest in this next one. You know, he's hanging out with the Resistance. He beats some girl or whatever that's also the Resistance or whatever. That'd be cool.
Something like that.
And the second one has been the love story. You had Attack of the Clones was a love story. Empire Strikes Back was the love story. So in that instance, you should get a love story in this next one.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. It does. We'll see.
Cool. I think that's it. That's all I got. Wow. I want to go see the movie again.
Yeah, well, we're going tomorrow. So.
I know, right? I think it'll be the last time we see it in theaters.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, yeah. There are so many other movies I want to see, actually, that I just can't keep going to watch this over and over again. But they already announced, first off, the day it came out, they announced when it was going to come out digitally to pre-order it. Oh. And then they announced yesterday that it's actually going to be on Blu-ray sometime in early to mid-April. They already announced the Blu-ray for it. And it just crossed the $1 billion mark. Fastest movie ever to cross $1 billion. It's a Goliath. You could bet that Disney is just like, they're sitting there.
Best purchase ever.
Exactly. They're not only loving the movie, but also all the other toys, the merchandise. I mean, they've already made back that $4 billion they spent.
Oh yeah,
hands down.
Yeah. Well, and the graphic novels and the books and stuff that are coming out are good.
Exactly. Yeah. Which one? Let's get to that a little bit. Which one has been your favorite so far?
I like the Kanan.
Kanan's the favorite. Yeah,
I mean, of the ones I've read. I mean, I haven't read it as many as I would have liked to.
You read the 3, right?
Yeah. I like Kanan a lot. I mean, there's a couple of the books I'd like to read. I just haven't had time.
I like the Star Wars and the Vader, how they interwove. It's like, because I read the Star Wars one first, which is great. You get that story, and then with Vader, you got that what was happening at the same time. But you got Vader's perspective, because both of those graphic novels, Volume 1, end in the exact same place, where Vader finds out that Luke is his son. And then it's like, but you get different perspectives on all of it. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I really like the Kanan one, but I think that's... I'm really, really enjoying Rebels. And, I mean, I'm constantly like, I want to know what's going on with Ezra. Like, I want to know who Ezra is. Like, I'm so fixated on who Ezra is.
I think, from what I heard, the second half of this season is going to be pretty intense.
Well, I'm ready. So I think I really like the Kanan story, too, because it gave you Kanan's, backstory.
And Kanan is my favorite character. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite Star Wars characters, and now Rey's up there as well. So I want to see more of him, which is really why I want the next Val Cedal to be Kanan. It's kind of wishful thinking on my part, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that, but I really am enjoying Rebels, and so I really like the Kanan comic.
Awesome. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's it for us. As always, hit us up on dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. If you have any questions, just let us know. You can also hit me up on social media on Twitter and Instagram. I am always down to talk about Star Wars. You can find me at Slim, SLYM Dayspring 12. We will be back next week with one of our regular shows with lots of other news in the world of geekdom. So until then, may the Force be with us all.